If there's anything that recent events in Tennessee and other states have taught us, it should be that state legislatures are critical to our democracy. I mean, it is where America's policy is made. And if you don't know who your state representatives are, you should get to know them because they are determining your future. State houses create policies whose impact can reach beyond state lines and influence entire regions, affecting people's pocketbooks, educations, abilities to make decisions about their own bodies, and virtually every facet of life that you can think of. And beyond laws alone, how your state legislature is run has a direct impact on you as well. I mean, look at Tennessee. More than 136,000 Tennesseans woke up on Friday morning with no representation in their own state house. That's because the Republican majority expelled the two youngest black male legislators, Representatives Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, saying they violated House decorum rules, all for demanding that going to school should not be a death sentence. The Nashville Metro Council is set to vote tomorrow night on whether to reinstate Representative Jones. Now, this egregious push to expel the Tennessee Three has forced conversations among Democrats about whether the current ways of approaching opposition are growing outdated in a new political environment. I recently traveled to Nashville and spoke to the Tennessee Three in their first joint interview since the expulsion votes, and we discussed this very issue. Take a listen.
The truth is we cannot continue to operate in a very old way of thinking in a very new moment in Tennessee and American history. It's very similar to what we tell of people who are Republicans who talk about the immutability of the Second Amendment, that we do not live in 1776 where we need a militia. You have to have a reality check on what these rules, what these laws mean in this present moment. And to our colleagues in the State House, we do not live in the era of the 1950s or 1960s or 1900s. We have to live in this moment. We have to operate in this moment and act in this moment.
What would you like the current members of the Democratic caucus in the State House to do?
We have to be honest about the culture on Capitol Hill. Mm-hmm. That it is much more comfortable to conform.
The Capitol Hill he's talking about is in Tennessee, in Nashville. But it's not just Tennessee. From Florida to Mississippi to Texas, Republicans are using their legislative power to marginalize black participation in government. So I recently spoke with the Democratic leadership from both chambers of the Tennessee State Legislature. Representative Karen Camper, the Democratic minority leader of the Tennessee State House, Representative Sam McKenzie, the chairman of the Tennessee Black Caucus of State Legislatures, Senator Ramesh Akbari, the minority leader of the Tennessee State Senate, and Representative Harold Love, the assistant minority leader of the Tennessee State House. And we started by talking about the growing anti-democratic actions of Southern state legislatures. As I've talked to experts across the country, civil rights lawyers, constitutional lawyers, they say this assault, what they are calling an assault on black people's ability to participate in the democratic process is happening all over the South. And Tennessee is just the latest. What say you to that?
I agree. I mean, if you look at voting rights and the push towards using IDs, restricting being able to vote on Sundays, penalizing people for offering refreshments, extreme partisan gerrymandering, where we already are behind the finish line before we even get started. And I think just looking at some of the policies that clearly don't represent democratic values. And it is a deep South-Southern strategy, I believe, especially when you look at unchecked supermajorities.
How did we get here? Mr. Chairman?
It has been a long and exhaustive process just here in Tennessee, just here recently. But, I think what's happening is one state will see something and it passes. It's like there's no way they would ever do that to either the African-American vote or do it to early vote. And when it passes, another state said, let me try it.
But this did not start as an assault on black people's ability to participate in the political process. It didn't start as an assault on two young black men representatives in the State House in Tennessee. This started with 3 babies, 9-year-olds, and 3 adults being killed in school.
Yes, Representative Jones, Representative Pearson, and Representative Johnson come out of an advocacy world. This is who they are. And at the moment I think they felt that these voices were not being heard. And I think they felt like this was a good cause. This was similarly to what John Lewis did in having to sit out on the floor, that they needed to do something. And they did. They took to the floor.
Did you all agree with that cause?
We definitely agree with the cause.
So let's talk about the tactics, because I think we are sitting here today because 3 members of the Tennessee State House engaged in what I would call civil disobedience in the well of the House.
Well, I want to clarify, a few years back, Democrats walked off the House floor together.
Is that in violation of the House rules?
No, but one of our members was put off of a conference committee, and we didn't agree with that. And collectively, we decided to walk off the House floor, which then broke the quorum requirement, so they could not do business without us. So we have disobeyed civilly, right, and done it in a manner that stopped business.
You know, I got my ear to the streets all across the country. And as a young person who has regularly had to pull my chair, as the senator knows, had to pull my chair up to just about every table I have sat at, I understand sometimes what happens when you got the young people pulling their chairs up saying, we got to do it like this. And you have some folks who have been here a minute saying, well, hold on now. We've been here before. And that could create some friction. So I'm hearing that there's friction. Somebody tell me if there's not friction, if I'm wrong.
Well, you know, I always say, you know, I said it yesterday on the House floor, in the washing machine, it's not the water that gets the clothes clean, it's the agitation. So agitation is a good thing. Technically speaking, for like 5 seconds, they technically broke a House rule. But that is disobedience. But did it rise up to expulsion? And that's really the point. This was a minor infraction, in my humble opinion. And it was just that opportunity. They're opportunists, and they pounced on it. The Republicans in the House, and they doubled down.
Yeah, and to Chairman McKenzie's point, into your question, Simone, we all proceed as we see fit, right? We all have our own tactics. I remember a member who had retired, he told us, he said, sometimes you need folks to kick in the door, and then you need the other folks who can come to the table and negotiate.
That's right.
And so we can't be critical of our colleagues for how they choose to have their voices heard. But they are firmly Generation Z, and they come from that culture of we are going to have our voices heard right now. But they tried to go through the normal system, and they were silenced. When you silence the voices of the people, they will find a way to be heard.
That's right.
And that is what those members did. Is it different from how I'm heard? Yes. Is it any less effective? Is it any less important? Absolutely not.
Representative Love, because you're the president-elect of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators.
Yes.
So what is your membership saying?
So we've had these conversations with our members across the country to say, what would it look like for the various state black caucuses to say, how do we really get movement on legislation that's important to our communities? The goal is to have a bill passed and to have legislation that will be signed by the governor. So we have to be aware of that also. And I think it's also a wake-up call to many of our black caucuses that are in southern states.
What is the intergenerational lesson that folks should take from what has happened here in Nashville?
I think that people communicate differently. Yeah. Just because someone is younger than you, they talk differently than you. We are all elected officials. And I think that that's something that has to have high weight.
Was there a bill that you all are working with the Tennessee Republicans in the state legislature, both the House and the Senate, to move forward that will address some of the issues as it relates to guns in Tennessee?
Yeah. We have 5 pieces of legislation we introduced focusing on red flag laws, focusing on assault weapons, high magazine cartridges, and things like that. And so we are working, I'll kind of kick it back over to Leader Camper, but we have open dialogue, I do, with the Senate Speaker, which is a lieutenant governor, and the governor's office. If we're going to do something, the Democratic Party stands ready and willing to help. And I'll kick it over to Karen.
So on the day we came in after the shooting, the majority leader came to my desk and said, let's communicate. I want to do something. Let's do something. Okay, good. And as the speaker was leaving, he stopped by my desk and said, I'm open to us doing something. Great. So we had legislation drafted. We have, on our side, on the House side, we have a bill limit. And so we were vigorously looking for captions that could hold the legislation. Those bills have to go through what's called a delayed bills committee because we're beyond bill filing deadline. So I'm negotiating and was negotiating with the two of them to allow those bills to come out of delayed bills.
Where do we stand on that?
So the process is started. But that night, they committed to me, and I'm going to hold them to it.
I talk to constitutional law lawyers. I talk to people that literally do this democracy work every day. And each one of these folks I spoke to said, what happened in Tennessee, and then they said what's happening in Mississippi, particularly in Jackson, that the state legislature is doing in Jackson, what is happening in Florida.
Yeah.
It is Jim Crow. Do y'all think what is happening here equates to Jim Crow?
Yeah. I think one difficulty that people have understanding is the term, the vestiges of slavery.
Talk to me about that.
This is the residue of it, right? That even though it goes away, there's still some residue of it. There's still the implications that African Americans may be less than because of the color of their skin. The implication that schools that teach African Americans are less than, and so they should be funded less. Right? The implication that African Americans should receive less attention to health care, and so there'll be disparities in that area. These are the vestiges of slavery, right? And when those things linger, then people suffer disparities. And then you have these unintended consequences. And so when we say, hey, there's something wrong in our community and it could be linked to slavery, they'll say, well, no, that was 400 years ago. They say, yeah, but there's still the vestiges of slavery. And you have these indications of it. We have things that do pop up when it's not just one incident, but it's another one. Someone should have said, I think, last night, after a Caucasian member was retained and an African-American member was not, somebody should have intentionality and said, hold on now. What are the optics?
But their view doesn't allow them to do that.
That's right.
They have no vision in that regard.